and I've been in Houston 20 years. So I think all of that counts in terms of importance. I would like to say huge congratulations to Greg, our dear partner, and thank you for our relationship with you as well. And welcome to Leader McCarthy, and honor to have you here with us in Houston. So thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed the questioning session. I'll hand over to Arthur to facilitate that.
Great, thanks.
So welcome.
Yes. Hello everyone, my name is Arthur Kaplan. I'm a partner with EY based in Houston, and I also serve as a member of the Board of Directors of World Affairs Council. So glad to see all of you here. Congratulations, Greg, on your award. Leader McCarthy, thank you for being here. So we'll start with questions from the audience. We have who's the first brave person?
Don't be shy. There's no wrong question.
Only the wrong answer.
Yes.
So, this is a question for Leader McCarthy. Right now, you're the minority leader in the House Republican Party as a minority. So, how do your tactics at pushing Republican policy differ when the party has a minority compared to when the party has a majority?
The difference in the House, the rules in the House and the Senate are different, but in the House, when you're in the minority, you don't have a lot of power, okay? Because the Speaker kind of has all the power in the House. So most of the time we're almost in opposition. There's time we support, but we're always trying to make it better, that place. We have places on committee. We try to just compete the ideas. Now that the election is coming closer, in the last election we came pretty close to winning the majority. It's only a 5-seat majority. So we have more say. They can't do whatever they want. Lots of times they need us, and that's a better form of government, actually, that we find common ground. So we try to use every advantage we can in that perspective. Sure.
This question is for McCarthy. If you become Speaker of the House, what is the agenda that you will try to push on the
It's a very good question. It is the commitment to America. Now, one thing I said, I didn't know of your election. I think we should celebrate that we have elections. How many of you will be 18 before the election? So you get a vote for the very first time. So you should take it very serious. And not every country has the opportunity that we do in America. That the power rests with you. So I don't think elections are bad things. I think elections are good things. And there's times I don't win elections. But I think the idea that you can debate, you could determine what happens. I believe in running a campaign about what I will do. I can always argue why I think our philosophy is better than the others, but I don't like campaigns like that. I just talk down to somebody else. If we're given the power, what will we do? Well, we put it into 4 categories, okay? An economy that's strong, because we have inflation we haven't seen in 40 years. So we're going to tackle the problems that have inflation. We hate where the price of gas is. That adds to inflation. So we're going to strive to make America energy independent. We'll also have a challenge that we're watching our supply chain have problems. So we're going to focus on bringing that supply chain back to America. Then we go to a whole other category about a nation that is safe. We think some of our challenges are nations that are safe. We believe America is a country of immigrants, and we want our immigration system to work, but we also have to have a secure border. So we want to secure the border and change an immigration system. We do not want to defund the police. This is a place that we can debate on both sides. We think police should be honored, police should go there. We have a challenge with prosecutors that won't uphold all the laws. We think they should be upheld. We think there should be consequences. Then we go to a whole section about a future that's built on freedom. We've watched people get challenged when parents go to school board meetings. So we're going to pass a Parents' Bill of Rights. So your parents can have a say in your kids' education. Then we have a government that's accountable. We think there should be a check and balance, a role what the Constitution says in the House, that if we're going to appropriate all this money, we should also see where it goes. We're also a check and balance on the administration. So we lay this out as our agenda. And then we promise on the very first day we'll repeal 87,000 IRS agents. Simply from the philosophy, I think the government should be here to help, not go down. And then what's great about this, the other side should put up everything they believe in and let America decide what direction you want to go. When the election's over, go.
So you talked about immigrants in
The first thing is I won't make it 100 days. 100 days is a number they all pick. But what I really want to do, tell me if you think I'm wrong, I think the country's very divided. I think you walk in this room and you already had an impression of who I am, probably, right? But you don't even know my background. You don't know where I come from. I don't know where you come from. I don't know what struggles you had or your parents had. But the one thing that unites us is that we're all Americans, right? And so far we get into these Republican or Democrat, or I watch Fox or MSNBC, we just keep dividing each other. So there's a reason why I don't want to do 100 days. Because I don't want to say the election's over and I'm going to go impeach somebody because I'm now in power, because that's not America. What I really want to do is, we've laid out this agenda, we get sworn in, then we go back out to America, right? So I'm going to bring a plane, and I'm going to bring a lot of members, and I'm going to offer people on both sides of the aisle to come, because we're going to introduce a bill to make us energy independent that would use all forms of energy. But I should go to the place that produces it, and I should sit down, and we should ask them, do we have this right, what more? Then we're going to introduce it. Then we're going to ask you to join with us, so when it passes the House, it'll go to the Senate. So I'm going to take more time, because I want the American people to be with us. And we might have something wrong, and we'll learn there, oh, there's a better way to do it. There's a really good book, because I know you all love to read. Have you read Adam Grant's Think Again? All right, that's your report that you need to do, okay? You don't have to write me in, but read Think Again, because you may have a philosophy, a belief. You're going to get challenged in your life, so don't be so old. When you go to college, do things you're not good at. Try things you're not good at. You may find out you're pretty good at it. It might be another subject. Challenge yourself and challenge your own belief. I want to do that with what you get in. Greg's done that most of his life. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McCarthy, could you elaborate on your views on same-sex marriage?
On same-sex marriage, I think the Supreme Court has made a decision on that, and it's the law of the land, and that's what I believe in. Next question. Yes?
I'd actually like both of you to answer this question, but I'm going to address so you've had one of the fastest times to become a community.
You guys are really smart. You did research.
What skills and characteristics do you say led you to that climb?
Okay, timing is everything in life, but being prepared. So I grew up in a place a little like Texas, Bakersfield. That's where I met Greg, right? My family doesn't have wealth. My father worked 2 jobs. I was youngest in the family. When I got out of high school, I didn't have the grades or the money to go away to college, so I went to junior college. I met this guy that owned a liquor store. You can figure out how I met him. But he had a car dealer's license. And I said, I'd pay $100 to take me to the LA car auction. And I went there and I started buying and selling cars and flipping them to make our way through college. Now, it's illegal, but I didn't know why I was doing it. And when you go to community college, on the weekends, you go visit your buddies who are away at college, right? So this weekend, I was going to go visit some friends in San Diego State. So I go to the grocery store to cash a check. This is 1985. As I'm cashing a check for money that weekend, the lottery started the day before, so I buy a lottery ticket, and I won. I'm one of the first winners. Now, the most one was $5,000. Now, this is long before you were born. But $5,000 meant something. I was 20 years old. It was Friday night. I just won $5,000, and I ended up 10 minutes from Tijuana for the weekend, all right, as a college student. So I come back, I take my folks to dinner, give my brother and sister each $100, and I put the majority of the rest of the money in one stock. I made 30%. I'm a risk taker. So I go out and I try to buy a franchise, but no one will sell me one. Another thing I do is I never give up. So I open my own deli. And anyone who opens a business, you'll learn 3 things. You're the first to work, last to leave, and last to be paid. I was pretty successful. So within 2 years, I now have enough money. I could pay my whole way through college, and no one in my family had finished a 4-year degree. So I sell my business and go to college. And there's this article in the paper to be a summer intern in Washington, D.C. with my local congressman. I think he's lucky to have me, but he's never met me. So I applied, right? You know what he did? He turned me down. I never stopped. Today, I'm elected to the seat I couldn't get an internship for. In your life, you will stumble. You only fail if you quit. If you get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8 times. It doesn't matter. You know when I stumble? Is that when I learn the most. When I write a book about my life, that's going to be the most interesting part of my life. Life is not going to be easy. But those who succeed don't give up, believe in continuing education, and want to learn every single day and are willing to take a risk. That's what made the country. And the other thing is, be respectful of somebody else's belief, be respectful of who they are. And I mean, it doesn't matter what place in life or society you think they are, because in America, everybody's equal and everybody can succeed. And it'll help you. So 2 philosophies, learn something new every day, you can never have too many friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to follow that because, certainly going into the corporate world is very similar. Kevin and I have very similar backgrounds. I was the youngest of 6. My dad worked 3 jobs. We had no money. I had to put myself through school and all that. But I was always willing to try something new, right? So, for me, moving from Wyoming to California was the first big thing I tried, right? And that was a huge culture shock, I can tell you, if you've ever been to Wyoming. So that was kind of the first venture out. And then from that, the world kind of became my oyster. So I started to open my eyes, right? And become open to a lot more possibilities. The other thing I did, and I think this is really important, is that I always had a lot of mentors that I would look up to and say, okay, I would really like, her leadership style or his leadership style. So I'd always watch others and try and emulate, as best I could and learn from them whatever I could. And then as I went up the ranks of the company, I never forgot where I came from. Never ever forgot where I came from. And I was, my heroes were the people in the field, right? Those were my peeps. And, I see so many senior leaders that they begin to rise the ladder. And I had an old mentor tell me one time, he said, the day you start believing your own press releases is the beginning of the end. And he was right. Because it takes a village to run a very complicated global oil company. And the day that you think you have it all figured out, you might as well just resign because you will get forced out. So it's surrounding yourself with really good people and then creating the culture that mines their ideas, mines their possibilities. So when I was going into countries, for example, I lived in a whole bunch of countries around the world, a lot of the expats would kind of just go off and be by themselves, right? I was the opposite. I was always with the local culture. I was trying to figure out what their wants, their hopes, their dreams, their desires were, and working within their context, not mine, to create success within that context and that culture, and it worked every single time. Because basically what you figure out when you go around the world, there's something right here that we all want, and we all desire, and we all hope, and we all dream for the same things. And if you can tap into that, and find the common ground, extraordinary things will happen. So, and that's why, just what Kevin said, that's why America, in spite of all our problems, still is the one place in the world where that can still happen. That can still happen. Might be harder, there might be more divisiveness, but it can still happen. And you see examples of every single day. It doesn't matter where you came from, what your education was, nothing. You can still be extraordinarily successful. But then once you are, you have an obligation to give back and to help the next generation to do the same. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. I saw a doctor on the internet, and it was
We'll leave the internet.
what are the chances of Kevin McCarthy making a run for president in 2024? From you.
0.
What if you don't make the Speaker of the House?
I've had that happen to me before. I keep going. Never give up. Yes.
It has been speculated that if the Republicans take the control of the majority party in the House, that they would use raising the debt ceiling as leverage to force spending cuts, including Social Security and Medicaid. So what do you respond to this?
What's interesting, I was asked this question the other day. A debt ceiling, okay, picture a credit card. You got a limit on how much you can spend, right? So Congress is able to lift the limit. So we're now at $31 trillion. Our debt to GDP is the highest it's ever been in our country, okay? So who has to pay that? All of you. So should I, in the majority, say every time we hit that limit, oh yeah, just raise it, just raise it. If your parents gave you a credit card, you hit the limit, you'd say, oh, I better change my behavior, right? I'm not talking about Social Security and Medicare, but I'm talking about you shouldn't give anybody just a blank check. Do you think it'd be responsible if your parents gave you a credit card and said, spend whatever you want? No. Well, that's what we have right now. And the sad part is, you have to pay for it. So that's like, I went to Disney World and sent you the bill. That's no fun. So, yes, I think it's responsible because I think our government, we should have a balance. We shouldn't have debt. Just like our own home, we should have a reserve for a rainy day when stuff does get bad. In a good time, we kept spending more than we were bringing in. We can't do that. You can't keep repeating yourself. So when a debt limit comes up, it's just like on a credit card. If my bill gets up too high, I'm going to pay attention. I've got to change something. So I don't think it's wrong when somebody wants to raise the debt ceiling that you ask the question, what are we doing wrong that we keep coming back to this point? Shouldn't we actually be living within our means? And why wouldn't we question where we spend money? You don't think there's a lot of waste? And where do we get the money? All from you. So I should be a good steward of your money. So yeah, I'll raise the issue.
Yeah, I just paid my taxes, so if you could get on that issue, that'd be great.
Yes, sir.
How do you guys feel every day holding an important position and do there's some nice shoes and suits come with the job?
He gets paid higher in his job. I have to find someone that makes them cheap.
No, so this is not my usual attire, by the way. My usual attire is blue jeans and cowboy boots. And again, it's because I actually think that clothes like this in a corporate environment actually drive differences between people. So I want to look like the guys in the field or whatever in the office because it makes you down to earth, it makes you real, it makes you authentic. And I think one of the things I've learned about leadership, one of the most important things is authenticity in leadership. People have to know that when Greg is talking, that's the real Greg. It's not something concocted. It's the real Greg. So as you kind of rise up, which I know you all will, be authentic, be who you are, celebrate who you are, celebrate your diversity, celebrate your differences. That's the human experience. It's
But as you celebrate, respect the others.
Exactly.
You had a question?
And in this room are, and myself included, in this room for the first time voters in the upcoming election. So what is the one thing you want to tell a room full of young Americans of yourselves?
Register to vote.
I'd like to encourage you to register Republican, but you can register however you want.
Don't do it because somebody else told you.
And don't assume, like she read something on the internet, that I was going to do something. Do your own research. And you're young. You know what your power is? Go volunteer in a campaign. You don't have to wait till you're 18. Go volunteer on some local one and engage in it. It's the American process, and you'll learn a lot. Doesn't mean you have to go into politics or anything else, but you're part of your community. Don't sit back and complain, but be part of the solution, right? So meet people individually. Ask them the question. And I think that's your best bet. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Mr. McCarthy, with the upcoming election, do you think that voters are more focused on social issues such as abortion or economic issues such as the inflation?
I think economics, because we haven't had inflation like this in 41 years. And inflation is very painful. So I assume some of you have jobs, some of you may not. But how many of you have a job in here? Okay. Could you who have a job give up 1 month of your wages? Could you afford to do that? You know what? Inflation has taken that from you because 1 month of your wages is 8.3% of your overall year. Inflation is 8.3%. So your buying power, you still have to pay the same amount as less. So you work for 1 month for free because that's what inflation has done to you. So we've never experienced this in 40-some years. So that is much more powerful than that. And that's what the polls are showing as well. Crime. People are afraid making decisions about where they go. Fentanyl. Do not buy drugs. I know you're not going to go out and buy fentanyl, but you know what? You're going to go away to college. You're going to look on Snapchat. Someone's going to you're going to buy a Xanax, or you're going to buy something to help you study a little longer. You know what's happening? You're not waking up because everything is being laced with fentanyl. Do not think it's safe. Do not think you're buying something else. It is the number one killer of people your age to 18 to 45. Don't let somebody give you something and say it's something else. Don't do it. I'm telling you. Yes, sir.
As you know, many American corporations have been thinking about leaving the United States and going to other markets. How do you plan on supporting the American industry to remain in America?
Great answer. He's making decisions as a corporation.
Well, no, I think, look, we've never even contemplated that as our company, because the one thing about America, that its competitive advantage, its strategic advantage, is its brain power. Its brain power. And we have got to be able to attract the best and brightest, on the planet for our business, because a lot of people don't know how technical oil and gas is. We look at a moonshot and say that's child's play, right? And it is, on a relative basis. And so we absolutely have to have access to that global talent. But guess what? Most of that global talent still wants to come to the United States of America. So we are firmly here. We believe it is the right place to do business. And it also is the place where people have the greatest chance, again, to grow and prosper and become extremely successful. So that's our philosophy. Other companies I can't speak for, but that's ours. Yeah.
So if I took a micro approach to your question, I don't see as many countries or many companies wanting to leave America. I'm from California. I see a lot of companies wanting to leave California. And so it's what taxes are too high. So if they simply move from California to Texas, they save more than 10%. Regulations, they can make something happen faster. So those are the things you look at. And it's really what you want to look at is you want to create a level playing field. Meaning if you're going to compete with every other country, you want to be able to start on the same starting line. Don't make yourself start so far behind. And that means from a regulation point of view, from a tax point of view, from any of the hurdles it is to open or run a business. From those things you make it more painful, they'll find another place to go. In the back. Yes, ma'am. Yes. We'll go you, then him.
We've discussed inflation a couple of times now, so I'm wondering what policies exactly are you looking at using to combat inflation? Because we're learning in economics class there's usually two kinds of inflation, cost demand pull or cost push. So you can usually address it through either aggregate demand or aggregate supply.
You guys are very smart. Okay, so you first have to think, how did inflation begin? It's not one simple action, right? We had a financial crisis and the Feds made money so cheap, right? Reagan would put it in a very macro place. We don't have inflation because the people are living well. We have inflation when the government lives well. So if you go to Larry Summers, who was former Treasury Secretary, or Steve Ratner, who, under a Democrat, or Steve Ratner, who was a Democratic advisor to Obama, they call the original sin of inflation of when it took off, and every graph, if you study it, was after the American Rescue Plan, where they put too much money in the money supply, right? They did spend those $2 trillion. And then what happened? You had a new administration that actually paid people more to stay home than to go to work. So then we had a workforce problem, so you had to pay people more to go in, and then you created a supply chain problem because you couldn't create as much, so then it became a greater rush and hence inflation as well. Then you added more regulations, which add more cost to it, so you raised up the price there. Then you shut down the ability to produce energy in America when it came to oil and gas, so that the supply was less, so that came up even higher. Now that's everything you move costs more money because of transportation. Now fertilizer costs more. So it hit every place you go, and inflation begins to spiral. So then what does the Fed do? The Fed has been making us live on cheap money. And the way you've done before is, Morton Friedman, a brilliant economist who's dead now, he was a conservative economist, he would say, you have to raise the interest rate above the inflation rate. So if the Fed had acted a year before, they could have gone to 3% and inflation would have stopped. They waited too long and said it was transitory, remember? And it kept growing and growing and growing. Now it's at a level that's very painful. So if somebody wants to go buy a house now, they're paying twice as much in interest as before, so they think separately, right? So now housings are going down. This is the pain of inflation, but it really happened with a lot of the Democratic policies once they came in that flooded the market even greater. Yes? Yes?
I want to ask, what legacy or legacies do you plan to leave?
That's a great question. I want to make...
Oh, by the way, this question for all of you.
Okay, all right, great, thanks.
You want to think about it or you want to go first?
No, you go first.
See, smart. All right. In my job, I want to make the place better than when I found it. I want to make Congress be able to work again on both sides of the aisle. I want people to respect each other, and I want to solve the challenges for America today that the future is going to be brighter, right? That means I'm going to make tough decisions. That means I may lose based upon some of my decisions, but I'm willing to risk that. As a human being, I hope you think I was honest. I hope you think I was kind. I hope you think I was respectful to you, and that I honored what God gave me in a life, and I made something better.
Same. No, I mean, pretty much. I mean, look, for me it's important to make a difference, right? Make a difference in the world, make a difference in your company, make a difference in your family. And my credo or my thing that's propelled me my entire life is always make the place better than where you found it. And so when I went into any job, because I used to get really bad jobs because they figured out I was a fixer, you know, and they'd say, oh, let's go get Greg to fix that, right? So I'd go in and fix it. And my litmus test every single time was I would look myself in the mirror and say, are you leaving the place better than you found it? And that's multidimensional. Right now, in Hess, because Hess is doing really well if you followed our stock, I've probably got 5 years left of working. My entire focus now is on diversity, equity, and inclusiveness in the oil and gas space. So I'm leading a whole industry effort. If you look at oil and gas, and there's a lot of reasons for that, you know, the pipeline is not as diverse as it needs to be. I'm spending a lot of my effort working on those issues to basically get more talent that's more diverse, make the culture more inclusive, make equity more fair in oil and gas. That's sort of where my passion is the last 5 years, because I want to make a difference in that space. You know, to give people the same opportunity I had, regardless of where they came from or who they are. So that's what drives me.
That's a really important thing. Just a round of applause. Thank you. I wish you the best.
Yeah.
Apply some California.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all.